The Phoenix Suns have found their man. They plan to hire Mike Budenholzer to be the team's new head coach. So this is quickly coming right off the heels of the dismissal of Frank Vogel, the team's former head coach, after they got swept in the first round of the playoffs by the Minnesota Timberwolves. And now there's new details, new reporting as to why this is happening. We're about to break it all down. My name's CJ Pierre. This is Suns Digest. And we've noticed that there's about 99% of you guys who are watching our videos. That's great. But you haven't subscribed to the channel yet. So if you want to keep up with the latest news as the Suns move into what's going to be a crazy offseason, hit that subscribe button below so you can keep up with all the videos coming from me and my buddy Bruce as we continue to move forward to see what the Suns are planning to do in the summer. But let's talk about what the Suns are doing right now. And they are hiring Mike Budenholzer to be their next head coach. The latest reporting was that the Suns did not want this to be a long process. They didn't want this to drag out. They wanted to do things quick, fast, and in a hurry. And that's exactly what they did. Less than 24 hours after the reports came that Frank Vogel was going to be dismissed, the reports are now that they plan to hire Mike Budenholzer to be the team's next head coach. And honestly, it's not a bad hire. The reporting from Shams with The Athletic saying that Mike Budenholzer will be the next head coach and that his deal is expected to approach 8 figures per year. Whew! Massive payday for Mike Budenholzer. Congratulations, Coach. You can enjoy that. But let's not just talk about that. He's going to be a big asset to the team on the court. Let's take a look at his track record as a head coach. He has stops with Atlanta and the Milwaukee Bucks, as we know. When he was with Atlanta, he led them to a 60-win season in the 2014-2015 season, where he was also named the Coach of the Year. And then, of course, as Suns know, he was the head coach of the Milwaukee Bucks when the Bucks beat the Phoenix Suns in the NBA Finals back in 2021. I know it is a tough pill to swallow, Suns fans, but Mike Budenholzer is a solid coach, and you are going to be happy when you see what he does with this team. But let's backtrack a little bit. Let's talk about the previous head coach, Frank Vogel. What happened? How did this happen? He's a one-and-done coach. It's never the look that you want to have as an organization when you bring a coach in, pay him a lot of money, and then you're just done with him after 1 year. But there are new details on the Vogel firing, new details as terms to what happened, what was going on in that locker room, and it kind of starts with the star players, and there's no bigger name than Kevin Durant. And it seems like Frank Vogel and Kevin Durant weren't able to really ever connect and really able to develop that kind of chemistry you need from a head coach and one of the star players. The reporting coming from Doug Haler with The Athletic is that Kevin Durant never felt comfortable within Frank Vogel's offensive scheme, and multiple key players just lost faith in Vogel as their head coach. Again, not news that you want to hear. Now, Frank Vogel, he's a defensive guy, defensive-minded coach, and that was his bread and butter when he helped lead the Los Angeles Lakers to an NBA championship back in the bubble back in 2020 with LeBron James, with Anthony Davis. Those are some of the best defensive players in the league. Now, as he transitioned to Phoenix and got basically handed this big three of Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, and Bradley Beal, 3 of the best offensive players in the league, his style didn't necessarily mesh with them, and we saw that on the court against the Timberwolves in that first round series. Turnovers, miscommunication, lack of ball movement, just a lack of cohesiveness on the court, and that's something that the Suns are hoping that Mike Budenholzer can bring. And as we get into why the Suns ended up landing with the former Milwaukee Bucks head coach as opposed to some of the other potential options that are out there. Guys like, the rumors of J.J. Redick wanting to be a head coach. Guys like Terry Stotts, who was the former coach of the Portland Trailblazers, and Damian Lillard, who's available. There are a lot of options, but the Suns wanted Mike Budenholzer, and they made it known that he was their guy. And, the Suns, the offensive struggles that they had may have ended up with three-point line. And Mike Budenholzer, his teams, they shoot threes. They jack up threes. That goes through from his stops with Atlanta and in Milwaukee. As you see, this is how his teams ranked historically with three-point attempts over the course of a season. You look at that, 2nd, 7th, 6th, the one down year with Atlanta where they were 16th in three-point attempts. But then again, 7th, 2nd, 4th, 8th, 5th, 4th. Mike Budenholzer teams, they put up the basketball. They jack up shots. And that is something that this Phoenix Suns team is going to benefit from when you have guys like Booker, Kevin Durant, and Bradley Beal. Kevin Durant especially, someone who we know can shoot from anywhere on the court. If he's in an offensive system that allows him to put up more threes, he's going to have a much better output. Now, there is a name that I was a little bit surprised that wasn't given more consideration when it comes to the Phoenix Suns, and that was Scott Brooks, Kevin Durant's former head coach with the Oklahoma City Thunder, the coach of where Kevin Durant won his only MVP award. If you would think that maybe that the kind of familiarity that you wanted to bring in for someone like Kevin Durant. But again, Kevin Durant's not the only star player on the team. There's also Devin Booker. There's also Bradley Beal, and those are the two guys that Mike Budenholzer is going to be tasked with unlocking and trying to unlock this big three, this thing that the Suns put so much time, so much effort, so many assets into putting together. You wonder, is this going to be the thing that works? Is Mike Budenholzer going to be the thing that is able to bring it all together and allow it to become the team that it's supposed to be? At the end of the day, I think so. I think Budenholzer's a great hire. He's a great offensive mind. He gets along with his players, and he knows how things will fit. And he will also most likely play a role in the team's roster construction moving forward. The team doesn't have a true point guard. We have talked about in videos before about how that's one of the biggest glaring aspects into what the Suns were lacking over the course of this season is not having a point guard who could organize the offense and set things up. Budenholzer had one of the better point guards in Drew Holiday when he was with the Milwaukee Bucks winning an NBA championship. So it would be crazy to not think that Budenholzer is going to want to try and do something and acquire a point guard in some way. Now, given the Suns cap situation, that's going to be difficult. They're a second apron team. They don't have a lot of roster flexibility, and that also doesn't necessarily leave out the possibility that there could be trades coming down the pike for one of the big three. Most likely, if that were to happen, it would be Kevin Durant, but I don't foresee it happening. I believe that Matt Ishbia, James Jones, they looked at Budenholzer and they wanted to get this done quickly because they want to keep that nucleus together, and they believe Budenholzer is going to be the guy to get it done. I feel bad for Frank Vogel. It's never great to be a one-and-done coach, especially with a coach of his track record, his pedigree. He's a good coach. He's going to find a job elsewhere. But if it comes to when you're making a pivot, when you're making an adjustment, Mike Budenholzer is a great, great pivot option in terms of what you're trying to do. Now, of course, we'll have to see what the Suns end up doing with the rest of the roster construction as we move forward into the offseason. But I think, Scott, things are looking up if you're a Phoenix Suns fan right now. All right, and that's all I got for you guys today. If you want to keep up with more of the latest news as things kind of come in together and we see what changes the Suns are going to make over the course of with their roster as we move into the summer, make sure you stick with Suns Digest for the latest news. Click that subscribe button so you don't miss a thing. All right, again, my name's CJ Pierre, and I'll talk to you guys next time.